Cecil, welcome to our SCATS podcast.
Thank you.
So we will like to introduce you firstly. You were born on Malta.
Yes.
As my father's Piranite, so God told me that. And you are from Malta, went to India.
Correct. I joined the Jesuits in Malta.
Yes.
Then just after my novitiate, I went to India, where I did all my Jesuit formation there, and also a lot of years of my ministry. Mm-hmm. Then from there, I have been 15 years in Rome. 42 years in India, 15 years in Rome. And 2 days in Croatia.
Yeah.
And 3 days in Croatia.
Oh, awesome. And which country impacted you the most?
That there is no doubt. India has shaped me. First of all, I was only 19 years old when I was in India already. So I was still in the years of my formation, maturation, and all that took place through my living in India, very much. A totally different world. I think the gift for me was that I went with willingness, generosity, totality. Yes, the first 6 months were very lonely, but somehow in the depth of my being, that was my place. And I still remember very well the first 2 Indian companions who started becoming my friends in my life. Then I had a link to somebody, okay? Since one is in studies, moving from one university to the other, then you make friends, no? You make friends around. However, my base, strictly speaking, was a Jesuit province about 300 kilometers northeast of Calcutta. So we are in the northeast of India, northeast of Calcutta, which is in the Jharkhand state today. I belong to the Jesuits in that province, and our main work there was to work with a big tribe, the Santals. Now, when we say a tribe, because this was the biggest tribe in India, means 10 million people. A tribe is 10 million people. A very structured tribe, a very social structure, very united. They have their unique language, a very sense of community. Now, because if people ask me, how did you change? What changed you? You know, I nearly find it difficult to say. But since I was part of that reality, it was impacting me. I mean, that was my life. I didn't think of another life. You see, in that country. Everything was different. I remember the first time I was invited for a concert for international students of Indian classical music. You know, in Western music, before the orchestra starts, they start harmonizing the instruments, no? I went for this concert. We were sitting there, hundreds of us international students. There were the Indian instruments, tabla, sitar, tambura, and so on, flute. I didn't know that the concert has started. I thought they are still harmonizing their instruments. And then the concert was over. You see, I had no knowledge, nothing, absolutely nothing. It was over. But by my presence there, you start opening yourself. First of all, I think what helped me most is that I had Indian Jesuit friends. You see, that is very, very precious, very precious. Secondly, since we, the group of Jesuits that were there, were focused on this tribe, it gave us a focus to our life, and they gave us an identity to us as a group. That is very tangible, very, very much sensible that. See, one thing dear, in India, even what I say, you cannot generalize for the whole of the country. India is not a country, India is a civilization with many ethnic groups, 500 official languages, plus there are other official. And when we say languages, not even like Europe, no, the script is totally different, even from one state to the other. So there is this great differences. However, since I was doing my Jesuit formation there, it made me grow to be sensitive to the different emotional vibrations of the different people of India. And that helped me a lot for my work later, because most of my work as a priest later on has been mostly formation with people of different cultures. And if one is not sensitive to the different ways they vibrate emotionally, to enter deep in a person, you can do a great harm. The difference of, you see there, you see, we talk of India in general, Hindus in general, Muslims in general. But my dear, it makes a difference meeting a Hindu face to face, meeting a Muslim face to face, meeting a Santal face to face. Totally different. See, I think, thank God, now as I stop to think, I think in all sincerity, I can say I had no resistance to any people. I mean, this is not consciously. When I stop back to look back. So when I meet a person like this, a Hindu and like this, we are meeting. You see. And there are different levels how people around react to me, because I'm a foreigner. Also the color of my skin makes a difference to them. And so there is a distance in the beginning. Or sometimes they look up to me also. But to be present to the person you are encountering, extremely. I have to say, never in my personal encounters with people did I experience resistance. Now I want to say one thing also. In the last 15 years, things have changed in India. See, in my time, there was a big harmony there. I remember when I used to come to Malta for a visit, I used to tell people, do you know, in India, I don't have a chance of dying as a martyr. Because the situation was very harmonious, very harmonious. Today it is not like that. Today, the most hated words are missionary and conversion. They are two most hated words for this. See, one experience I had, which was very strong for me, in 1999, there was an Australian family, a Protestant Australian family, a husband, wife, daughter, and 2 children, who were doing missionary work in India. They ran a leprosy hospital, and during the weekends would go to the villages to evangelize. And at night, the wife and the daughter used to sleep in the catechist's house, and the husband and his 2 sons in their car. And one night, during that night, they burnt them alive in the car. That created a fear in me. The one reason of the fear is I knew I could not hide my identity because of the color of my skin. I was also aware I'm going to travel by train through that space, to that same place. They will drag me out of the train and burn me. That was my fear. And that kept working in me. And one day, dear, I had an experience by surprise. I was just entering the dining room I was directing a group through a retreat at that time. And I felt at that moment, I cannot explain this, but that is what I felt. Great consolation that I am hated for Christ. And you cannot believe, yeah? Immediately, the fear evaporated. Secondly, like I was brought to touch my identity. I am a disciple of Jesus. And with that, I remember saying to myself, sincerely, if they will catch me and burn me, I will scream with pain, but I will not be angry with them. When you come to a point to touch something which gives you meaning, then it is worth everything for that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You see, that was very liberating to me. I never had an experience being confronted like this. Never. It's true. But that was a fear I had within me. And I remember it liberated me. So through my personal contacts with people, also in India, even though politically at the moment there is a movement of nationalism, but nationalism restricted to Hinduism. For example, the tribe we were working with were not Hindus. The tribals are not Hindus. The tribals have what today we call cosmic religions, what in the past we used to call animists. You understand? I will touch about that because that is with the connection where Christ is precious for this people. But the Hindus, even the other people in general, have an intuitive sense of vibration towards the Spirit of God within them. I give you one example. I was traveling by bus with a man sitting next to me, a Hindu. And I know when I travel, they will also ask me, where are you coming from? What are you doing? Then I wait for the question, where is your family? I am not married. Why are you not married? Always they ask me these questions. And this man asked me, why aren't you married? And I told him, I made a vow to God. Now you must understand his question in the Indian context. And he tells me, which God? I told him, to Jesus Christ. And to my surprise, this man who is sitting next to me, who is a Hindu, raised his hand on his head like this. That is a gesture you do only for God. For people you greet like this. For God you do this. He raised his hand like this and he told me, he is also my Lord. And he is a Hindu. He is a Hindu. They have this sense of respecting the presence of the Spirit in others. So, you see, in a certain sense, I think in India, what I feel very strongly, more than trying to propagate a religion, it's much more precious to communicate the Spirit of God in Jesus. In Jesus. You see, the people we work with, I told you, are what we call the religions, cosmic religions. It is a people that is very much controlled by the spirits. They believe in a God that is good, so since God is good, you don't have to bother about him. Their concern is how to keep the evil spirits peaceful. Their sacrifices are to offer a sacrifice so that the evil spirit can be peaceful. You understand?
Yes.
Now, this is precisely a point I felt where I can bring the freedom of Jesus. To help them to experience Jesus does not bring fear. I remember I was directing a retreat to one member of this tribe. He was a Jesuit actually and did the month retreat. And after the month retreat, he told us, You know, we are a very free people as a tribe till sunset time. When sunset starts coming, fear starts rising in us of the spirits. And that is precisely where I feel the presence of Jesus can make them free of this fear. So you see, you cannot just say, I'm going to propagate Christianity among the people. First, with what type of people you are dealing with? What are their needs? Where is the point that God wants to liberate himself among these people? Because I remember also one thing, one day I was alone, quiet thinking. And I said, Cecil, what are you doing here? Wasn't God journeying with these people for thousands of years? You understand? They must have experienced God in some way. They don't articulate it, but God must be there, you see. So it is very essential to respect the sense that God must be present there. And how does he invite me? To what to offer through Jesus to these people. It is very clear for me, for the people with whom we are working, this tribe, the most important, because we do many other things, but to liberate the people from this fear of the Spirit. And the biggest joy that Jesus would want to give. So that is in general like the atmosphere in what I was working. As I said, the impact of India on me took place in a very natural way. I never felt not at home. Never. When people from abroad used to come and visit us, they are surprised how we live, what we live. And they make me aware of the mystery of my life that I am living, but it lived comfortably. But when I came to Rome, I realized how much I have changed. I changed in the way I look at people of different cultures, of different religions, how the news is shared. And immediately I sense these questions or this news is from, for example, the Western culture, but it does not fit for India. In the beginning, to be honest, I tried to communicate this even to my companions. It will not work there. One has to experience another culture. Also, it is not easy. See, today, to be a leader in the world, you have to be universal. But you only acquire this universal vision by moving from one culture to another, which is painful. Because each one's culture is precisely to give us security. Whether your culture, your way of life, you as an individual, of your family has its culture, your town has its culture, your country has its culture, and that this culture is precisely to give a certain security and stability. The only difficulty, and that is where prejudices come, that I think that the way I have been doing this is the only way to be done, and others have to do it. And to move into another culture, that you are challenged. You are challenged. What India, I used to tell people, when people ask me, what has India done to you? I used to say, now I say more, the depth of it. I used to say, India has purified me. It burnt away from me a certain rigid attitude to how to look at the world, to how to look at religion, to how to look at Christianity. You understand? Mm-hmm. It burnt away the rigidity. The beauty is, my dear, when it burns away the rigidity, then you find the life of what you live. That's the beauty. See, also, this is, I cannot understand a little bit here in Europe. I cannot understand this because India, or Europe as a culture, as a history, I mean, is an intelligent culture.
Yes, sir.
Why? It is so stupid in the context of what I lived in India. Why you don't have it here in Croatia yet? As far as I know, I don't know, only 2-3 days. But in these Western countries, that to show respect to other cultures, you remove the signs of your religion. Which is, in the context of India, it is so stupid, so stupid. You know, in India, if you go into a bus and the driver is a Muslim, there is on the bus the name of Allah. If the driver is a Christian, there is a picture of the Sacred Heart. If the driver is a Hindu, there is the picture of Krishna. Nobody feels not respected. There is place for everybody. I cannot understand a culture so intelligent can respond so stupidly to this reality. To this reality. That you have to remove the signs of what is part of your identity to show respect to others. It is very stupid here.
Yes.
Very stupid.
That is the problem in Croatia also. They try to ban the sign of cross
Exactly.
in schools,
Yes.
hospitals and other...
Exactly. Then what happens, unfortunately, we are seeing it in Italy, for example, extreme fundamental rights ideologies try to affirm this, which is also not healthy. You understand?
Yes.
On the other hand, this cause today, and this is part of a purification in different levels it takes place. My dear, you cannot be a Catholic because Croatia is a Catholic country. That each individual Croatian Catholic has to confront that. That is very vital, very vital. What is the fruit when you struggle to that? Because, my dear, and here perhaps where people are afraid in confronting other religions. If I am afraid of confronting you who are of another religion, what does that mean? I'm not sure of myself, no? I'm not sure of myself. You understand? First, it is already sacred if a person can acknowledge to himself, I am afraid to meet this Muslim or to meet this Hindu. That is already a big step to acknowledge it. Because if one acknowledges that fear, will not make him arrogant. But if a person is afraid and does not acknowledge it, what happens? I try to put him down so that I feel secure.
Yes.
Which neither nourishes me, neither destroys the other. You understand? Today, especially in the context of religion, here in the West, but it will happen also in other places, society is not going to support you for your religious convictions. Very clear. Very clear. And this is what I challenge also our Jesuit scholastics to inform me. Today, society is not going to support you to be a priest. Previously, culture supported you. You were respected because you were a priest. Whether you deserved it or not, you were so. But the challenge is then, you have to find what is the mean, what are you living for? It is vital to touch it. Vital to touch it. First, I think you have to find what is it that gives you life in your daily life. First start with that. Secondly, it's good to face yourself. This is as one grows, no? Because this is what perhaps we have not sufficiently helped people. That because one had one's faith as a child, as a young kid, that now he has to keep that till he dies. but you grow. You mature. And if that doesn't grow with you, either you remain infantile in your faith, or you defend it with your guns, you understand? Or give it up. See, my dear, your journey, let me put it like this. God grows with you in your growth. God goes with you in your growth. How are you both growing? How are you both growing? And the beauty is, this is the beauty of Jesus. Because, you see, dearest, this is not easy for everybody to understand. God did not come to us in Jesus for himself. He came among us for us and to show us the way to God, not to get stuck. And so he is a way. What is this way? What is this way? And see how you journey with this Jesus to the way that brings fullness of life and God. You see? So, for example, I will sense, because this is from my contact with people in India, it will not work. Not only it will not work. To go, for example, to India, let us say, I want to go to the Hindus to preach Christ. First, let them touch you. Let what they believe, what they experience become part of you. And then you see where God is inviting you to put Jesus in their midst. How? I don't know. It varies. It varies. It requires, so it is a process that grows, you see. Also for us, it was very clear in the context of with the people where we lived, very clear, religion does not stand independent of the social, cultural, economical life of a people. You see, you are there for the whole person, for the whole person. So we brought about in the midst of these people a revolution of education, which was non-existent before. Now it has grown. You understand? We have worked a lot for their economical stability, but it is the whole man, it is the whole person, you see. But the deepest, as I told you, where I felt, because freedom of soul, you can have everything. If the inner is not free, it is a weight. And to set a person free from that is the biggest gift. And this we have experienced, with the people in different ways. And since the people we worked with are very much, these tribals are very much affected by the life of the spirit. For example, when one of the relative dies, he is buried or she is buried in the perimeter of their campus. They have their home and their land. Why? So that the spirit of the ancestor will protect us. Everything is connected like this. Everything. You understand? And so to move to them, even, for example, the charismatic retreats among these people plays wonders. Even non-Christians come. So you must sense at what level they are seeking greater fullness and freedom. What God wants to bring to them. This is in general, I don't know if you want
yes, because I had an experience. I had, I think a month ago, encounter with a Buddhist guy.
Acha,
and
yes. Acha means, in Hindi, means I agree, yes. It is so. That is an Indian word that is in my blood. It remains so.
And I noticed that something in me invited me to... I always... run from them because they are always selling some books, stuff on Buddha and their religion. Yes. And I don't know why I stopped there and talked to him. And even if I said that I'm a devoted Catholic and I'm not into the change or, but he was so lovely and so in contact with me, and that I felt really loved.
Bravo. Bravo.
That's something changed in me, that
Yes.
encounter with him.
Yes. First of all, Buddhists, see, sometimes I don't know, I have not studied Buddhism. I mean, I didn't have much contact with Buddhists, only in passing. Because Buddhists, though it started in India, were also thrown out of India.
Yes.
And they spread out to the rest of Asia, Indonesia, and so on. But from what I experienced in Thailand, Singapore also, they have a great respect for other religions, unless it becomes a political reality, like Sri Lanka, Cambodia. They are very strong there in a political reality. They have a great respect for other religions, because sometimes, but this varies, they don't even want to be identified with a religion. It's more with a way of life, animated by a certain spirit. And so there is this, even they will approach you with respect. With respect, you understand? Now it is very precious. See, why, dearest, why? Ultimately, it is a fact. What you experience of your religion, no, let me see how to put it. What gives you life as a religious person, religious means Christian or Hindu, has come through your Christian religion, no? Okay? That is yours. That is yours. So you need to, how to say, acknowledge it, own it, experience it, and share it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He is sharing what he has received through his Buddhist religion, which brings the Spirit of God present. You see, my dear, see, there is one statement of Pope Francis in his encyclical on sanctity. We can never say where God is not present. We can say where he is present. And for us, in our Jesuit spirituality, there is no iota of existence that is not imbibed with the presence of God. Listen, receive. What gives you life is coming from the same Spirit, from the same Spirit. You see.
And do you have maybe some advice?
One little thing, it not because you went through it, because that is what some people are afraid. No, that if I experience this, then I am not faithful to my religion, or no. And so you enter more within you. You see, today I repeat, for people who want to live their religion maturely, healthily, freely, have to find it their way. Then the structure of religion, the community of the church, supports and nourishes. But that is not a substitute for this. Not a substitute for this.
Maybe, do you have some advice how a person can get rid of that fear encountering other religions, and maybe
Bravo.
by talking with them, or because...
First, I think the honesty to acknowledge it. That is very sacred, if you can acknowledge that. Fear is very dangerous if it is not acknowledged in any form. In any form, in any way. Because fear makes you do what you are afraid of. You know, when you have learned to cycle for the first time, and you are on the cycle, and you are afraid you are going to get into the tree, that's where you go. That's the curse of fear. Until you acknowledge it. Then already you are taking master of it. Secondly, because also in a certain sense, you might also wonder, no? How did this fear come to me? You understand? Partly depends also from the culture where we are, the school, the teachers, our parents, the family, what we hear, priest talking, and so on. You understand? But it could also mean, I'm talking to you now, I mean, at your age, no? It could also mean, rightly, you have come to an age to start opening up to another level of life, of looking at the world, of looking around you. And so this could arise, the fear, what will happen to this? You understand? So it could be at that stage. However, what you have personally experienced, face-to-face meeting, changes that. Changes that. Because even prejudices of culture are not necessary because of ill will or malice. Incredible, dear. Like people are born. A people is born with the prejudice towards another people, without ever having talked of that people. You understand? So they need to be aware of it, and then you meet, face to face. Face to face. I don't think, let me see, there are two levels. You will remove the fear, say, from a person who is different. There are two levels of handling that. One is meeting, as you did, but then also going deeper into oneself. What are you afraid to lose? You understand? Because that is also precious. Because, my dear, if I am afraid to lose this, and I want to hold it like this because I'm afraid to lose it, I still don't own it. You understand? And a person in the growth, even in religion, needs to make this journey. You know, to hold it like this. It's like, once I saw a poster where it says, let me see, if I hold it, my hands open, and it remains there, it is mine. If it flies away, it was never mine. You understand?
Yeah, that's a very good analogy.
Yes, yes, dear. To be sure, like this, is not mine yet. Whatever you hold sacred, living with the fear of losing it, you have not yet owned it. And neither get the joy of it. Neither get the joy of it. You understand? Let me just drink some water, please.
Then I think that's all of my questions.
Okay, dear. Okay.
So maybe do you have some last thought or words you want to say to youth of Croatia?
Well, my dear, it might be, I came here six days, no, like this. But I was touched by certain things. First, I liked the city of Zagreb. Incredible how much I liked it. There is a discipline in this country. I am coming from Rome, confusion. This is because partly the culture of a people. The Italians are not regimented people. You understand? They are very volatile, like this. But also because of the millions of tourists, they create confusion. So I was fascinated. I didn't know the open spaces that you have, the system that works around. Really, the city, I liked it very much. But the second thing that struck me, there is still religious devotion among people, which is a challenge. Which is a challenge. I saw people in the church. When walking around, I went into churches, and even here in our church, Many people. Even to be honest, seeing youth praying. I saw one young lady, 20 years old, coming from university, going to church to pray. And it made me think, no. Knowing what is happening in the West, you cannot take this for granted. It might be all finished within another 20 years. But there is something beautiful here. There is something, I try to discuss, I don't know, sacredly soft. Now, the challenge is, for us Jesuits, I feel, but anybody who has a sense of mission, of Christian mission to our culture, to our people here. How to help that this will not get lost? It is a challenge. Because just by being rigid and closing it, you are not going to help it to remain. Very clear. Very clear. You will suffocate it and it will die. That is not the solution. On the other hand, look, I was trying to reflect on myself. This young lady whom I saw, and she is gazing at the tabernacle. There must be something that brought her there. But most probably her focus is on the tabernacle. She has not yet entered and touched what brought her there. And I think, and I wish, perhaps I'm talking like a Jesuit, to help the people to touch their own devotion within them. And then they start rooting themselves in that. Then that becomes theirs, not only coming from culture or from society. Then when this is yours, then the society, the culture supports it. But it is a challenge, even I told some Jesuits, because you don't take it for granted. From what I see in the other countries, don't take it for granted. But it is worth helping it to survive, because it is alive, so it needs to be cared for. Certainly not being rigid. It is no use even telling people, you must come to Mass or like this. No use. It will not work. It doesn't help even those who are coming. You understand? So, what brings them there? Help them to move deeper within them, rooted. Then it becomes part of their blood. Then they come. It might not be the only solution, certainly not. You will have to study the culture. But this struck me very much because I was very much impressed to see this. Of course, you might be saying, in the context since the fall of communism, things have changed. I don't know how it was before. You understand, yeah?
Yes.
But you still have something like a plant that is yet not dead. That is clear. Okay, dear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Father Cecil,
Welcome.
for this talk, and you're going tomorrow to
Yes.
Rome. So by plane or?
Yes, with Thomas.
With Thomas
looking for me.
Pater Lucaina.
Yes.
So we wish you a nice flight and
Yes. I was very happy. I felt welcomed, felt comfortable. The program of these last 2 days was very beautiful. You were an extraordinary, very responsive group. I could sense that. And when a group is responsive, it creates energy in the one who is giving. That is very tangible. I think all of us feel that. I know I feel it. And also a group, I told even Father Tomislav, it is worth investing in. People are searching, even for their own personal life, but also for ministry. It is like the earth is soft, very clear, very clear. Thank you, and
Thank
God
you.
bless you, dear.
thank you.
Okay.
Ako se ne znaš subscribe-at, onda se pretplati. Za sve ostale videe pogledajte našu playlistu tamo.
I baci jednu sviđalicu jer ta kompleksna radnja sastoji se od jednog lika miša.